All right, we're starting chapter 6 today. Today we're talking specifically about inequalities. All right, and this whole chapter talks about inequalities, and inequalities are those things where it's like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, so we're going to start out here with 6.1, which is 1 and 2-step inequalities. Okay, so again, you don't have to write down every single thing that's on here. Just maybe write down the things that I highlight. So first, I will highlight rules for graphing inequalities. Okay, so the rules for graphing inequalities. When you are graphing, you need to use an open circle. And I'm having a hard time writing, so let's try this again. So use an open circle for these types of signs. So that's greater than or less than signs. Okay, and then used a closed circle or a filled in circle when you use these types of signs. So greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. Okay, so you use an open circle because it doesn't include that number, and you used a closed circle because it does include that number. Okay, and then a couple other things we need to make sure to write down is that when it's going greater than or equal to, that should be going this way to the right. And you can kind of recognize that by seeing which way the arrow is pointing. Okay, so it's going right, so our arrow or our shading goes right. And then in the same way, we have less than or equal to would be going left. Okay, and a way to kind of recognize which is which, these two kind of look like L's, less than. Okay, so you can kind of use that as a less than. All right, so if you have any questions on that, obviously, let's talk about it on a Zoom call. All right, so let's do a couple examples. Again, I would probably make sure to have all of this stuff that I have written down. Okay, and now let's do a few examples. All right, so this one, first one, it says x less than 3. So again, if you're not sure which one it is, you can see it says L, so less than 3. So I go to 3, and since there's no underline there, I just need to put an open circle on 3 and then shade less than 3, which is going to be anything less than 3, that way. Okay, so same thing for number 3 here, right below it, x greater than or equal to 7. So I go to 7. This time it's underlined, so it needs to be closed circle, and then it's pointing to the right, so I shade to the right. Okay, and that's it. That's how you graph inequalities. So sometimes it says write an inequality given for the graph. So sometimes you have to actually find the inequality for the graph. So in this case, it'd be x and then -2. So now we just have to figure out what this inequality is. Well, it's less than, pointing this way. And then since it's opened, I need to not underline it. So that would be my answer. And then the same thing on number 7, x and 0. Well, again, it's pointing this way, so I need to point it that way. But this time it's closed there, so that means underline it. Okay. So, and then sometimes we have to solve first before we graph it. Okay, so you must switch, we'll say flip. You must flip the inequality symbol, this is not letting me write very well. Let's try it again. You must flip the inequality symbol when you multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay? You never flip it unless that's the case. Negative number. Okay? Otherwise, we're just trying to get the x or y by itself, whatever the variable is. So in this case, I want to get the x by itself. So what we're doing is we're treating this sign as an equal sign. Okay? So I'm going to get the x by itself. So I've got minus 2 since it's plus 2. I've got 3 less than negative 6. Then divide by 3. I did not divide by a negative, so everything stays the same. That's negative 2. So now I go to the bottom here and I can kind of label here negative 2. And then I have negative 1 and 0 and 1, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. You don't have to label every single part of that, but get a few numbers on there. And then look at your inequality. No underline, so it's an open circle, and it's pointing to the left. So there's my shading going that way. And that's it. Okay. So same thing on number 10, and then we'll go to the back side. So same thing, I need to get rid of the 2, so subtract 2 to both sides. I get x over 6 greater than negative 3. Well, here I have divided by 6, so to get rid of division, I multiply by 6. Well, again, I didn't multiply by a negative, so nothing changes. Greater than negative 18. So let's say negative 18 is here, then I have negative 17 here, negative 16, negative 19, negative 20. That's an open circle since there's no underline. And this time it's pointing to the right. So to the right, those numbers are greater. All right. So let's go to the back side, look at a couple examples, and then we'll move on. So on number 11, this is a good example where we're probably going to have to flip. So in this case, same thing. I'm trying to get the x by itself. So first I subtract 8, and I get negative 7x less than or equal to negative 7. Well, now I got to get x by itself by dividing by negative 7. And I do, this time, divide by a negative. So that means I need to flip the symbol. So instead of less than or equal to, now it's going to be greater than or equal to. Negative divided by negative is positive 1. And so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 1, 0, negative 1. Since it's underlined, it's going to be a closed circle on 1, and it's pointing to the right. So I shade to the right, and there's my answer. Okay. So let's go ahead and do one more before we go to the back side. So let's do number 16. Got a fraction here. So in this case, I've got plus 1, both sides, negative 5 over 6x, greater than or equal to 15. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the fraction by multiplying by the bottom number. So I multiply by 6. Nothing's flipped yet. I've got negative 5x greater than or equal to 15 times 6 is 90. And then I divide by negative 5. Well, if I divide by negative, once again, that means I need to flip it. So x less than or equal to, and then that's negative 18. And so on my graph, I've got negative 18, negative 17, negative 16, negative 19, negative 20. So this time it is a closed circle since it's underlined, and then it does go to the left. Okay, so that is solving inequalities. Okay, so as we go to the next part, 6.2 talks about multi-step inequalities. Okay, so it's all the same stuff. The only difference is now we're going to be solving. So right now, if we need to come back to this part, I will come back to it, but we don't need to worry about interval notation right now. All we need to worry about is how to solve these, okay? So, in this one, just like any equation, I never want to have parentheses, so I need to get rid of the parentheses. So, distribute. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 3 is 12, greater than negative 24. And then I go ahead and get the x by itself, just like last time. So I've got 4x greater than negative 36. Divide by 4. Nothing flipped because I didn't divide by a negative. So negative 9 is my answer. So in my graph, I've got negative 9 there, negative 8, negative 7, negative 10, negative 11. And I've got an open circle, since it's not underlined, going to the right. Okay? And again, don't worry about interval notation right now. All right, good. So let's do another one. Let's look at number 3. In this case, negative 2 needs to distribute. So 7x stays the same. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative times negative is positive. 2 times 4 is 8. Less than or equal to negative 2. And now we got to combine like terms. So we've done this before with equations. Same thing here. So that's 5x plus 8 less than or equal to negative 2. And now we're ready to go ahead and solve. So subtract 8 to both sides. We got 5x less than or equal to negative 10. And we go ahead and divide by 5. I've got x equals, not x equals, sorry. X is less than or equal to, since it was a positive, nothing flipped, negative 2. Again, you have to divide by a negative for it to flip. Okay? So, negative 2, and then that's going to be negative 1, 0, negative 3, negative 4. That is a closed circle, since that is underlined. And we go to the left, since it's less than. Okay. So, let's go to a couple more examples here, and then we'll be about done here. Get you a couple practice problems for you. So, number 5. This one we have x on both sides here. So I need to make sure I have x on one side of the equation only. So I'm going to move that negative 2x by adding 2x to both sides. So I get 8x plus 1 less than 9. And so, in this case, I subtract 1. I get 8x less than 8. Divide by 8. And I get x equals, or less than, 1. And so when I graph that, 1, 2, 3, 1, 0, negative 1, that's an open circle, no underline, and it's pointing left, so less than, going that way. All right. And so let's do one more here, and then give you a couple examples to try on your own. So number, no. Let's do number 9. A little more complicated. Number 9. So first thing I want to get rid of, parentheses. So 5x stays the same. Negative 3 times x. Again, you can pause it if you want to write this down first. Negative 3 times 6 is negative 18. Greater than or equal to 8. And then negative 1 times both of those. So negative 1x. That's a 1 there. Negative times negative is positive 7. And then we're going to go ahead and get x on one side once we combine like terms. So I've got 5 minus 3 is 2x minus 18, greater than or equal to. On this side, we want to combine like terms as well. So that's 8 plus 7 is 15. And now, let's get that x on the same side. So add 1x to both sides. I've got 3x minus 18 greater than or equal to 15. Add 18 to both sides. And I got 3x greater than or equal to 33. So when I divide by 3, there we are. X is greater than or equal to 11. So when I have 11, 12, 13, 10, 9, I want to make it a closed circle since it's underlined, and we're going to the right. Okay? So anything you need to pause, go back to, make sure you do so, but I'm going to give you a couple examples to try. So for you, I want you to go ahead and try numbers 2. So go ahead and write that down if you need to. Pause it if you need to. Go ahead and try that one, number 2, and this one, number 7. Okay? So we'll talk about those two tomorrow on the Zoom if you have questions. And other than that, email me or hop on the Zoom call if you have additional questions today or tomorrow. Peace.